Hello! So you left MediatR for MassTransit to avoid the commercial license, fair enough, well played. But now you have another problem. You have another license, another commercial license, another thing to pay for with MassTransit. So where can you go now? There are custom solutions, and perhaps with a bit of AI help, they are quite valid these days. Perhaps you don't even need a solution. And there are some other arrangements which aren't necessarily as powerful in terms of performance, but they can be quite good in terms of price. So let's take a look at a few of those. Let's take a look at some benchmarks, and let's see where you can go from here to avoid those license fees for something that perhaps you don't even need. Before we look at the actual benchmarks, you can see we have this program.cs, the whole arrangement here with benchmark runner, all that stuff is available on Patreon as usual. We have Wolverine, we have MassTransit, and you'll quickly realize those things are very, very similar actually. But let's start quickly with manual approach. Very straightforward thing. So very clean, simple arrangement, and it's actually the whole arrangement is, as mentioned, this little comment here, about 20 lines of code. It's quite a bit more than that, but basic sort of implementation, if you will, is not much more than that. So we have our interface, the request interface, right? Then we have our handler, and we have some kind of a method to actually handle it. Now, there is another sort of different approach for this. We'll take a look at that as well. But we have the sender, the implementation for sender, and we'll have implementation for the request, or for the handler, rather. So we have the sender, iSender, and then we send. And then we can actually use the handler by getting the product handler. So whenever we need to handle it, we just handle it. Now, this can be done, and this can be quite interesting. There are a few descriptions here as well within the code, something to perhaps consider if you want to get sort of a deeper dive into it. Again, go and download the source code for this. But is it even useful to have this mediator at all if you're doing it manually? Now, it may be somewhat useful, and perhaps a bit of a caching arrangement somewhere in between as well might be quite useful, but essentially it's worth considering whether it's useful at all or not. Now, let's take a look at some of the other approaches. So for the MediatR, of course, it's not just a simple setup that you do it yourself. You will need MediatR, the library itself, a NuGet package, so you need to install that. And then you go here, and this is basically the implementation. Of course, going deeper, it will have some bells and whistles, but compared to the manual one, it's sort of similar. And the performance you'll see later, or rather you saw in the beginning, it's not exactly all that different. It doesn't help too much with that. So again, it's how you use it, and we'll get to that in the program.cs. In fact, we can take a quick look here. We have manual here. So we just have service collections. We inject them as transients and singletons here, the repository that we use for this benchmarking. And then we get the product handler. So we build that, we use that, and when we have the sender, and then we have the handler for the benchmarking. And then later we will do the actual benchmarks here. The baseline we use as a manual reader, manual direct rather, and there is also the manual mediator. So we can get into that as well just a bit. We have this iSender, so that's going to be with direct handler, but mediator involved as well. And we have MediatR baseline for the sort of library approach. But as you saw, we don't actually get too much. But if we look at the setup, we have a manual here, and then let's see, we have a MediatR here. So it's sort of cleaner setup from the code perspective. Of course, we're talking now from a code perspective, from a code cleanliness. Yes, you look at the manual, perhaps there's a bit more of a messiness here, but really, again, it's not that much. And these libraries have been sold as uh, quite a lot of stuff, uh, quite useful perhaps, but really they don't have much to them. So again, it's that consideration. Do you actually need some of these things? And that's the main question. And the final option, the Wolverine, it's a bit of an interesting one compared to the other ones. It doesn't implement actual interface. It's just a plain sealed record here. And then we have this static class for product handler. So a bit of a different approach in how it kind of set things up. But it does have more interfaces as such to different features. It's got in-process mediator, Async messaging, you can connect it with brokers. So a few more features perhaps compared to some of these other options we looked at before. But basically we just have those basic implementations without an interface for handling, for consumption, and you just dispatch it as startup. We can take a look at the actual setup here. So we have Wolverine. So it's a bit of a different thing. You have Wolverine host. So we set up that as a singleton, the product repository, and then we start and we use the message bus as it would be used to invoke and essentially consume the messages there. So again, the setup is quite simple, but really this video is not about how to use it and what the setup is. Obviously, as far as code goes, manual option is manual in a sense. You have to set it up, but all these other things, it's not exactly plug and play as well. So again, if you don't have a lot of stuff, perhaps consider manual, but let's take a look at benchmarks and let's consider where it actually would be useful now. Now, the reality of it is most apps that use MediatR, they don't actually need it. They probably don't need some of this other stuff, but as you can see from the whole benchmarking arrangement is this, at least it is sort of simple benchmarking. The Wolverine, which is actually the cheapest option, well, it's a free option, it's not just cheapest, it performs quite well. There's not really much of a problem with it. The allocation is quite decent, although of course you can't really compare it to direct, but then direct is direct. If you want that sort of reliability with third-party handling, all those edge cases and things of that nature, you want that sort of structure where you rely on someone else, then you can certainly go with Wolverine. Again, there's not that much of a difference, especially compared to MediatR. Of course, compared to that, there is a bit of a difference. Compared to manual, it's a massive difference, percentage-wise at least, and looking at all these benchmarkings, allocation and the mean, there is that difference. But then compared to MassTransit, well, it's not that terrible. And there are sort of different things where you might need to do this. So if your stack traces get worse, then probably not the best way to do it. Really, you know, you have your pipeline behaviors across different handlers, perhaps. If you want to wire them into one place, maybe that's the way to the time to use it if you have a lot of them. So if you don't want to repeat something over, say, 80 or 100 handlers, then the mediator will pay off. But if you don't have that, well, it's not perhaps the biggest thing in the world, and perhaps you want to go async messaging, right? So Wolverine would actually be the best for that, because if you want to start queuing, you can go from this to actual proper message brokers with Wolverine specifically in a decent amount of time compared to some of these other options. But really, if you want a message broker, if you need that sort of an arrangement, not necessarily a mediator like that, perhaps a better idea would be to look at something like RabbitMQ in those circumstances. Now, it's a completely different thing in a way, but also when you're looking at architecture, perhaps you're looking at the wrong thing. If you need to handle those massive amounts of messaging and handling it in a controlled manner, perhaps something like RabbitMQ is the way to go. And we do have a video on that on this channel, so take a look at that. Again, it's just a real consideration, and people say lots of things that you must have this, it's the best practice, but really, lots of times it's not the best practice, and in fact it's the worst practice, because you're adding something you don't actually need. It might actually cost licensing money, which you don't have in an early stages of some project. That's something that's quite important to consider. But looking at these options, Wolverine certainly isn't the worst, and if you don't have massive amounts of things going on, it's certainly a decent performance. Plus, it does have all those other benefits. And again, take a look at those if you're considering one of these options. Manual, you can play around with manual. Probably if you're using manual, really, do you actually need this sort of an arrangement at all? And MassTransit at this point, if they are going commercial in the newer versions, there's really no point to even look at it. MediatR, again, if your code base is all that there is, it's all based on MediatR, right? And you can afford paying the licenses, well, maybe then let's not break what works. Let's consider that as well. So again, there's many considerations, but there's also, thankfully, options these days. So take a look at them. Take your time when deciding these architectural decisions, and again, perhaps even completely different thing is what you need. A message broker like RabbitMQ or Kafka brokers. Again, lots of different things. And with that said, we will conclude this lecture.